We've got to talk about how Trump's new attorney general literally just confessed his love for the president on live TV.
If he chooses to nominate somebody else and asks me to go do something else, I will say, thank you very much. I love you, sir.
So that is acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, formerly just the deputy AG who replaced Pam Bondi after Trump gave her the boot last week.
The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing.
Well, Bondi, yes, was reportedly fired for everything Epstein files related. Reports have also said that it was primarily for failing to prosecute Trump's political enemies aggressively enough. And so the very first question that Blanche got during his very first press conference as acting AG was about whether he would do that. And if you're someone who is concerned that America is rapidly sliding into autocracy, his answers aren't going to fix your fears.
We have thousands of ongoing investigations and prosecutions going on in this country right now. And it is true that some of them involve men, women, and entities that the president in the past has had issues with and that believe should be investigated. That is his right, and indeed it is his duty to do that. People say the president wants to go after his political enemies. No, the president has said time and time again that he wants justice.
And to be clear, the idea that it's the president's right and even duty to give the Justice Department names to specific people or entities that he wants investigated, that is definitely not normal. In fact, the prevailing norm since Nixon's been that the DOJ and Attorney General should operate more or less independently from the president, something which one reporter pointed out later.
Since Watergate, there's been a kind of a firewall, if you will, on criminal investigations between the White House and the Justice Department.
I mean, that is the most false statement I've ever heard in my life. There is always communication between a president and his priorities and what the Department of Justice should be focused on and not focused on. That is not a new thing in this administration, although I know it sounds fun to say that it is. So as far as whether we would take a referral from the White House or take a referral from you even, yes. I mean, yes, if somebody knows about fraud, please tell us. And so if the president of our United States says, I have heard that there is ongoing fraud in Minneapolis, Minnesota, like any president before him, I hope that the attorney general would absolutely say, yes, we'll investigate that.
So yeah, Trump's former private defense attorney, who just told the president, I love you, is going to be taking direct orders from him on who to investigate. And while some reports have suggested that Trump's considering his EPA head, Lee Zeldin, for his official nominee for AG, in the meantime, it looks like Blanche is here to stay. And so I guess we'll have to wait to see whether he does better than Bondi, because, most of the cases that her DOJ brought against Trump's enemies, James Comey, Letitia James, Jerome Powell, several Democratic lawmakers, they've all stalled or fallen apart. Even the probe into whether Biden and his aides broke the law by using the auto pen, it ended up going nowhere, with prosecutors quietly shelving the case. Well, apparently Trump wants a more effective AG. I mean, you had a New York Times analysis, I think, kind of looking at the issue and talking about it pretty well, writing the fault lies in not the shirking weakness of those he is called upon to execute his will, but rather in the impossibility of his request to bring criminal charges against political targets with little to no evidence or legal justification. In fact, when it came to Bondi, you can't say she didn't try. But reportedly in the weeks before her firing, she desperately tried to satisfy Trump by moving against his opponents. We're talking about people including Obama CIA Director John Brennan, as well as another figure that we've got to talk about, Cassidy Hutchinson. She was a top aide to Trump's first-term chief of staff, Mark Meadows, and she gave one of the most explosive testimonies to the January 6th committee.
I was in the vicinity of a conversation where I overheard the president say something to the effect of, I don't effing care that they have weapons. They're not here to hurt me. Take the effing mags away. Let my people in. They can march to the Capitol from here. Let the people in.
It was also what I'll just call the ketchup incident.
I first noticed there was ketchup dripping down the wall, and there's a shattered porcelain plate on the floor. The valet had articulated that the president was extremely angry at the Attorney General's AP interview and had thrown his lunch against the wall.
Perhaps most infamously, though, this is one story that's disputed by other testimony. There was this story that she said that she heard secondhand from the Secret Service agents driving Trump's limo.
The president said something to the effect of, I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now. To which Bobby responded, sir, we have to go back to the West Wing. The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol.
So now reportedly, Trump's DOJ is investigating Hutchinson for lying to Congress, though strangely, that case is being handled by its Civil Rights Division. Because as the name suggests, it's normally focused on systemic civil rights abuses like police misconduct and racial discrimination. Whereas a case like Hutchinson's, alleged perjury in front of Congress, would normally go to the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington, which is run by Trump loyalist Jeanine Pirro. But Pirro, like Bondi, has struggled to move cases forward recently. So instead, they're going to civil rights, which is led by another Trump loyalist, Harmeet Dillon. And this, even though reports say that some DOJ officials officials have been skeptical from the outset about whether there is a viable criminal case to be made at all. But then that's also not where it ends, because this week, Trump announced that they're also looking into whoever leaked the story about the U.S. airman that was missing in Iran.
But we have to find that leaker, because that's a sick person.
Which, not the most outrageous thing. The government often goes after leakers. But then you had Trump explaining how they're going to do it, and that's when all the First Amendment lawyers' ears perked up.
So whoever it was, we think we'll be able to find it out, because we're going to go to the media company that released it, and we're going to say, national security, give it up or go to jail. The person that did the story will go to jail if he doesn't say.
And you had the White House later confirming that an investigation is underway, and Todd Blanche explaining that this is going to be standard policy for the Trump administration.
To the extent that we have seen a series of leaks that necessarily involve classified information and putting the lives of our soldiers at risk, or the lives of agents at risk, that is something that we will always investigate. And we will investigate if it means sending a subpoena to the reporter. That's exactly what we should do, and that's exactly what we will be doing.
Now, this isn't totally out of the blue, right? Last year, Trump's DOJ rescinded a Biden-era policy that safeguarded journalists from subpoenas during leak investigations. And then remember, in January, the FBI raided a Washington Post reporter's home and seized her devices, though a federal judge in February blocked the government from actually searching them. But still, reporters and free press advocates warn that this kind of thing, if not outright illegal, is at the very least deeply illiberal. Or because if the government, they can compel journalists to give up their sources, then sources are going to stop going to journalists with information. And so with that, you had Bruce Brown, president of the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press, telling NPR, some of the most consequential reporting in U.S. history, from Watergate to warrantless wiretapping after 9/11, was and continues to be made possible because reporters have been able to protect the identities of confidential sources and uncover and report stories that matter to people across the political spectrum.